Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's August 10th, 2023. I'm down by the spillway that the beaver keep blocking up on me. And it just, every day that I come down here, I remember that someone had asked a question about the beavers and the benefits of the canals or the channels that they cut. I believe that was a question with the canal systems, not the canal systems that I put in, which there's plenty of videos on regarding bioremediation, the breakdown of harmful compounds into their elemental form or inert forms. So I'm not going to talk about that. And I just came down a few minutes ago and took some of the top of the dam off here that they created in this spillway. Now this is our natural little spillway that I put in, nice and wide, so it passively allows very shallow water to spill over the dam that they created and all. And so the question, one of the questions that I got was about the canals that the beaver actually build into these areas. So I dug this canal coming down right straight over here. The beaver built up this spillway, built up a dam over the spillway here, which caused more flooding and higher water. And they went ahead and excavated channels all throughout this whole area. So I'm going to try and remember to cover a few things that I thought about. So those channels that they create are their, it's like a deer's trail. It's a place that they're going to move over and over again. And these channels are essential, especially during the wintertime, because when the top of the water freezes and it becomes a big block of ice, the whole area here, except for possibly when the water starts running, there'll be a little bit of a spillway here from the water running. But otherwise, that whole area will be completely frozen over. And those are their highways to get back and forth all winter long. They're not hibernating. So they'll move back and forth, and they'll go to their storage places at different places along those channels. I hope this is making sense and you can hear me okay with the sound of the water. So those channels create a roadway for them, and they will take this time of year right up until winter. They'll be, as they're building dams and cutting their channels, they'll create storage units. So they'll take many small limbs and store those in different deposits in multiple locations around these different channels and around these different ponds. And those are the places that when the ice is frozen over, they can go to those storage units of food. It's like having a storage unit or their grocery store, and they bring that back to either the bank den or to their dens out in ways. So that's one thing about the channels. Those channels are also somewhat similar to the dams that they build. So these, in permaculture, we talk about there being the forested area and then there being the field area. And I'm not pointing to either of those right now, but to give you an idea. So you have a heavily forested area and you have a field or a like a pasture area that you might think of. And at the margin, the transition between those two locations is an increased amount of ecological biodiversity in that marginal zone. That marginal zone will have some of the species from the prairie area and some from the forest, and it creates all of these habitats. Well, so do the dams. So I came down here just a little while ago with Mini-Me. A lot of the tree branches, the big branches they had stuck across here, I came down with a grapple, took those and put them into an area over there that I'm going to build a roadway with. Then I came down and I grasped some of the material that they pack on top of to build the dam up. And whenever I do that, the snakes come out of there, the frogs are all in that area. When the sun's out, you'll see all the damselflies and the dragonflies there. And every time I drive down here, I watch all the turtles leave the margin and go into the water around in here. Those turtles, muskrats, everybody utilizes, and the fish utilize those channels as well. So the walls of the channels are also marginal zones. There's increased diversity there. All of those margins are where a lot of the dragonflies and damselflies will deposit their larvae to develop over the next season. So the beaver are very beneficial as far as they're creating habitats for the diversity of wildlife and creating marginal zones, creating food storage depots, creating channelways that fish can go up in, amphibians can go up in there as well as reptiles. So all of this is absolutely fascinating to me anyways. Was another thing I was going to talk about. Oh, the beaver. So the beaver can be quite a large species, you know, the size of a small dog, very powerful. And when I think about, they're much more than a slow, lumbering creature that we see on the land. They're fast and very fish-like, I don't know. Their grace and speed and their gymnastic abilities underwater are just amazing to watch. And the beaver are almost like the commercial for the Ever Ready Energizer, a commercial for batteries, talking about bunnies. But they are relentless. They never stop working. It's innate in them to do the things that they're going to do. And if they become habituated to me being down here, I'll see them acting more normally. It's been a couple years since I've had a beaver do a tail slap. So they'll slap they'll use their big flat tail and slap the surface of the water. And that's an alert to all the rest of the beaver. There's danger. So I haven't seen that in a couple of years now, since I started building the roadways. But I will see even the kits, the little baby beaver, we'll see them in the lower pond where they train over there. I call it training because it seems like I see them there every season. I don't see them over in this area until they get older, or in the other ponds until they get bigger. But they'll be over there in the smaller areas building their little dams and scooting around. Another thing I just thought of, so some of those materials that look like brush or bushes that are just above the water level, probably standing about 4 foot tall over there. If you see in some of the other videos by the lower beaver pond, there's all sorts of marshland bushes that are aquatic, and they are in those areas. And there's small channels that they build besides the big wide channels. The big wide channels, they bring all their big sticks and logs and work their way through the area. But the small channel areas, when the baby ducks are here and there's anything like we come down here, you know, there'll be a few dozen ducks that shoot into those small channels, and it looks like there's not even channels there, but beneath the water surface level, the beaver have already tunneled out and dug out all of those materials. Another thing that the beaver do is, so I dug this out initially, I think 2 years ago, but then I made it much deeper last year, this channel system here. And so I dug everything out of there, and the only thing that filled in there initially was just water. And I harvested a lot of sand and a lot of the surface sediment, really rich soil, and I used that up above on the property. But since then, the beaver not only have created all of the channels here, they've also gone ahead and they've taken aerator plants, those ones that add oxygen to the water, and deposited them all throughout this whole area. They weren't in this area before. They went ahead, and there's spots all along in here where there's these aerated plants. And I don't know why they did it, or if they did it on purpose, but it sure as heck looks like that they're deposited all throughout this channel system here. Now it could have gotten latched on to something else that they were bringing over here, but to me, I'm sort of beginning to believe that they did that purposely. One thing, a characteristic that we've been watching since we have the game cameras, I haven't had them up in a while, but we're watching the beaver at nighttime. They are susceptible to predators like the fisher, the coyotes and all. But that doesn't stop them. Even when they're around, they keep working. And they're so tenacious, well, they're not tenacious, they're so resilient that they'll work even in the injuries. So if you go back to some of the trail camera videos that I posted over nighttime recordings, you'll see one beaver that had a pretty serious injury to his right hind limb that either was a fracture or a neuromuscular injury. And you, although it's hard to see, the paths that they kept coming across, they were climbing over 6 feet high up banks, almost vertical banks, to bring the logs or bring the sticks or bring all the materials that they were bringing from one pond to the other. And this guy did it every night, over and over again, multiple trips. So they are so resilient and so capable of working in spite of the challenges of physical injuries and potential significant pain as well. So I think that's about all that I could think of right now. And I'm sure there's a dozen other things I was thinking about when every time I come down here and say, oh, I need to talk about this. So I hope this is helpful. Beavers are so amazing. Remember, they're building systems like this are recharging our aquifers. They're building soil. They're allowing us to have more water, keep more fresh water in our aquifers. And I sing their praises because they're just so amazing. They're doing a lot for us as well. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found it somewhat informative. If you have any comments or questions, and please add to it down below. Leave any information that you can think about that I left out as well. Thanks so much and take care. Bye-bye now.